Yo, what's good, YouTube, man? It's Gabriel, Another Fan TV, man. Back at you another video. At the content of this video, go smash that like button. At the content of this channel, go and hit subscribe, man. Look, hope you're having a wonderful day, man. You know, we're gonna get into this three biggest questions remaining a month out from training camp. That's pretty much where we at now. It's like a month away, right? So these questions aren't like super big concerns. It's just that what I'm looking at right now as I look at the Ravens roster, where it stands right now. Three questions that I have, right? So we're going to start from the smallest question to the biggest question, okay? So first off, the smallest question I got, right, is will the offense work, right? And I know that sounds kind of crazy because we've been super excited about the offense this offseason. Todd Monken, Lamar Jackson being signed back, all the receivers being added, Odell Beckham, big name. But, you know, it's a little small part of me that's still wondering, like, anything could happen, right? So going into this training camp, how will the offense fare? Because they're going against a good defense pretty much every day in the Ravens defense, right? To start off the first week of training camp, the offense will probably struggle. The defense will probably win most of those days. That's just how it goes. But I want to hear about, as we getting on to the second, third week of training camp, that the offense is looking good. It's coming along. Because that's the big addition to this team is pretty much a new offense, a newfound confidence, a new system in the offense, right? So while it's a small question, it's not a major concern. It's not really a big question, but that is the one question I have on offense. Because if we look at the offense, right, we're pretty much squared away, right? I mean, I guess the question you could have is, will Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham be healthy? But I think they'll make it through training camp now as well. Whether or not will they be healthy throughout the season, who knows, right? But so I don't really have a question about health. You know what I mean? Injuries can happen. It's hard to question, will this guy get hurt, that guy get hurt? It's football. Anybody can get hurt on any given day. You know, we just heard the news last week now with Chuck Clark. Officially, it came out he tore his ACL, and that was during mandatory minicamp. They're not hitting. They're not, you know what I mean? So it's football. Things could happen. You could get hurt, right? So I'm not going to question injuries, but more just about the effectiveness, of the offense in general. How good will it be? How good can it be, right? I think the offense will be good. I think the offense will play at a high level, but to me, it's still a question, right? Because we don't know. It's that unknown factor, right? This is Todd Monken's first year with the Ravens. This is Lamar Jackson's first year in this system. This is everybody's first year in the system. So it's going to be a learning curve for everyone involved. How long will that learning curve take, right? And we'll see how it plays out through training camp. Okay, so second biggest question for me, all right, is slot corner, right? The Ravens have a lot of things squared away on offense, right? I think that when we really looking at the position battles for this team this offseason, right, going into training camp, excuse me, the position battles we're looking at left guard. I think Ben Cleveland's out of that contention. It doesn't seem like he's really considered right now. I think that's between, you got Simpson, Solid, a rookie, for Lele, you know, whatever, right? Then you got slot corner on the other side of the ball. To me, those are the two biggest competitions that's going on right now. And I guess if you want to say who's going to be wide receiver 6, but while I'm going to be looking and interested, I'm not going to be overly in tune with that. You know what I mean? Whoever wins the job, great, whatever. But left guard and slot cornerback are the two biggest position battles right now going into the training camp. Who's going to win that battle? And do the Ravens have enough guys there that's going to be, that whoever wins that battle, are they going to be good enough to play it and not have a drop-off on the defense, right? Last year, we saw Kyle Hamilton play that role. Kyle Hamilton is now going to play a more traditional safety as far as what he can do and what he did at Notre Dame. He'll probably be doing something more of that line this coming season, right? Okay. So who is the options there? There's Pepe Williams, who hasn't practiced his entire offseason because he has an undisclosed injury that, like I said, is undisclosed. John Harbaugh won't say it. You can ask the reporters, they don't know. Nobody knows what the injury is except for Pepe and the team, obviously, right? Okay. Then you got hold on, I got a net right now here. Then you got Darius Washington, right? Darius Washington is a guy that popped during this mandatory minicamp, right? Making plays, getting his hands on the ball. I think he had 1 or 2 interceptions, a couple of pass breakups, and he's a guy that's been on the Ravens for the last 2-3 years at least. And the Ravens keep bringing him back, right? Eventually, they want to see Darius Washington play on the field in real games, right? Last year when he played in the preseason, I think it was against the Cardinals. He had a really good game. But when it came to that regular season action again, he just doesn't see that kind of work. So is this the year that Darius Washington gets on the field as the Ravens slot corner, as their primary slot corner? It could be. right? I think he has the talent to do it, but now we have to build upon what he did in mandatory minicamp, into training camp, into the season, right? Then there's other options, right? There's Jalen Armour Davis. To me, I think he's an outside corner, so I'm not sure he's really in consideration for this spot right here. But he's a second-year guy coming off a little bit of a rough rookie season. Kind of got torched that Patriots game and then doghouse, right? Injuries and then probably just poor play. They didn't feel like he was ready. So what will he do? And then I think the wild card is Brandon Stevens, right? Like I said, Kyle Hamilton played that big slot role last year. He was really good at it. Brandon Stevens could be in line to do the same thing. Kyle Hamilton is back to playing more traditional safety, right? We already know Brandon Stevens is not making he's not going to be a full-time cornerback anymore. They say he's going to be playing more along the safety line, right? For the Ravens defense, they like to go three safeties a lot. So that third safety could be Brandon Stevens, and where could he find himself? Lined up in the nickel. Now, I don't so much like Brandon Stevens lined up as the nickel is going against, say, faster, quicker slot receivers, but if it's a big slot in there, a big physical wide receiver, I could see that. I like him going against tight ends. I could see that. So the Ravens have a lot of questions to answer about who's going to be the slot corner, right? Because when I look at this team, right, the Ravens don't have a lot of holes. I mean, we're going to be completely honest here. Quarterback, great. Offensive line is good across the board. You just got to figure out who's going to play left guard, right? Running backs, great. I love our running back run with Gus, J.K., Justice Hill. I love it. Wide receivers, vastly improved. Tight end, great. Likely, Andrews, Kolar looking good this offseason so far. On defensive side of the ball, safety room is good. Cornerbacks, I'm just worried about the slot guy. And then obviously is the pass rusher. So I like Odafe, I like Ojabo. Let's see what they can do. So there's not a lot of holes on this team. So when it comes to questions about this team, it's about, do they have enough guys to take them over the top? Now, the last question I do have, right, the biggest question, I think, the biggest, if you want to say concern, you can label it as that, but I don't really think it's a concern, is will the Ravens sign a veteran pass rusher? That's my biggest question so far this offseason, that going into a month out from training camp. Will the Ravens sign a veteran pass rusher? The Ravens have done this thing where there has been a position that's weak, right? Last year it was wide receivers, okay? Wide receiver was weak. The Ravens knew it was weak. They didn't sign anybody. They wait to see what they had in training camp. All right. If training camp, first week or two, they don't like where they're going, how it's going, they'll go get somebody. So, example, last year, like I said, wide receivers was weak. They went outside DeMarcus Robinson. Okay. So, not saying that didn't solve the wide receiver room, but they felt like they had to add a body into that room. They had to do it. That's how they felt, right? Will pass rush be that same way, right? Will they go through the first week or two of training camp and be like, okay, Adafe's good, Ojabo good, maybe they're not as good as we want them to be, who knows? Do we need to go and get a guy? That's a possibility. So when I look at who's left right now, you got Justin Houston, 34 years old, Jadeveon Clowney, 30 years old, and then the interesting one to me is Yannick Ngakoue, who's been here before. He's 28 years old. So there is, I wouldn't say there's any elite pass rusher left. The Ravens have kind of missed that boat. And that's intentional. I mean, if they wanted to sign somebody elite, they probably would have done it. They didn't want to spend the money on there. It probably wasn't a guy out there that they really liked, okay? Now, with Houston, we know what Justin Houston can do, but he is 34 years old. Was last year the last elite or last really good Justin Houston season, and then we sign him back this year and it's a complete dud? That's a question. Jadeveon Clowney, right? To me, he's never really put it together as a pass rusher, right? He's still a great athlete. He's 30 years old. He's still a great athlete. He can still hold down the edge, help you stop the run. But pass rush, you sign Jadeveon Clowney, I don't feel like that adds, okay, yeah, we got another pass rusher in the building, right? I think you add Jadeveon Clowney, you're like, okay, we got another solid guy on the edge. That's cool. We can work with that. But pass rush, I don't feel that with Jadeveon Clowney. That's just my personal opinion on him. And then the last guy, Yannick Ngakoue, right? Yannick Ngakoue is a guy, like I mentioned before, he's been here before. He's been on the Ravens. He's been on this team. Now, he was here when Wink Martindale was the defensive coordinator, and he didn't like it, okay? The drop-in, the containing, it wasn't his style, right? He's really a true defensive end who wants to rush the passer. He's not really the outside linebacker type. You know, he's not like how we have Tyus Bowser. He's not like that kind of guy, right, who wants to be dropping, doing different things like that. With Mike McDonald here, right, it's a different defense. Maybe he comes here, he says, or maybe he looks at the situation and says, hey, look, this is a completely different defense. I won't be dropping as much. I would just be flat out rushing the passer, and that's what I'm interested in doing. So I look at Yannick Ngakoue. He's the youngest guy available. His contract that they have to sign him for, because look, if you're available at this point in the year, unless you were released super late by your team like a Dalvin Cook or DeAndre Hopkins, your value is not going to be crazy high, right? You're still going to get paid market value, but it shouldn't be anything the record set. Okay, so the Ravens could get Yannick Ngakoue for a good price, a good deal. That's the kind of guy I'm looking out for. Will the Ravens make that kind of move? I don't know. And then lastly, there's the trade options. To me, the least likely of the bunch, obviously, is the trade option. But it's something that you got to discuss. I mean, we talked about it before. Chase Young, Danielle Hunter. Danielle Hunter, I believe, is 28 years old. He's coming into last year, his deal in Minnesota. Minnesota probably is willing to part ways with him. That's how it's looking right now. I think he's holding out. The Ravens traded their second round pick last year to get Roquan Smith. Will they trade their second round pick this year to try to get Danielle Hunter? It's a possibility, right? But Eric DeCosta, we know how much trading draft picks hurt him. Will he do it again? That's the question. I don't know. So when I look at the Ravens team, right, I see a team that has virtually no holes, no significant holes, right? We mentioned left guard, we mentioned slot corner. Slot corner, I don't think it's really a hole. It's just more about you have guys who can play it. Who's going to step up and win the job? Left guard right now is a hole just because we don't know who it is, and that could be the one weak link on the offensive line. It could be. Pass rusher, I think they do need one more guy, right? But it's hard at this point in the year to say who that one guy is. So I think the Ravens should sign a veteran pass rusher. That's my biggest question. Will they do it, and who will it be? For my money right now, if they can mend any old fences, if there's any old wounds, get Yannick Ngakoue in the building, right? 28 years old, good age. He's going to want to ball out. Give him a 1-year deal. He balls out on that 1-year deal. He gets paid here or he gets paid somewhere else. So for me, these are my 3 biggest questions of the Ravens going into training camp 1 month out, right? The season is pretty much right around the corner. You know what I mean? The more you think about it, once we hit July, it's full go football. So it's exciting times. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, man. What are your biggest questions, and what do you think the Ravens could do to answer those questions? All right. So if you stay to this point in the video, man, consider hitting that subscribe button. More Ravens content coming. Y'all have a great day. Hopefully it stopped raining over here on this side. But it's Gabriel, just another Fan TV. I'm out.